All right, we're joined by UFC lightweight Jim Miller, who's fighting on UFC 252 next weekend. Jim, how's it going?
Going well. Can't complain. I was able to get a fight, kind of in the timeline that I wanted to. A little bit earlier than I wanted, but yeah, to be able to fight again before like September, mid-September happened was important to me. So, yeah, I'm excited to be able to get back in the octagon.
This fight literally got announced probably like a week and a half, I think it was, before the event. When did you find out about this fight?
A week and a half before the event. Sean hit me up 2.5 weeks before the event with a different opponent. I accepted. Something came up with him. He didn't accept. So then I knew I was kind of on the card. So I just continued doing what I was doing, and and then we got Vince.
So you were kind of thinking you were going to be on this card then when Sean hit you up about 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah. Like I had no idea that I was going to be on this card until about a week or so ago, right? I think it was last Tuesday night. I got an email, asked me to be on the card, and I accepted.
You're a guy, you've been around the UFC for a while. You've taken short notice fights. Is this one of the more short notice fights you've taken when you're not replacing someone? Or
yeah, it is. I like last fight I got Roosevelt's name like 9 days before the fight, something like that. So I mean that one was pretty short, but I knew I was kind of fighting on that event for a few months, for about 2 months. So I was in preparation. This one I've been training a little bit, not a terrible amount, but yeah, just got right back into the swing of things, and I kind of like these ones. I like it because you don't get into the grind, right? Like the hardest part about this whole thing is that day to day, pushing yourself to the max and trying to improve, cardiovascularly and athletically and all that stuff. So like you do that for 6 to 8 weeks and it starts to really wear on you. Where I felt like I was healthy and ready and in good shape, and yeah, in 2.5 weeks, it's hard to kind of slip into that, the tough spot that sometimes comes along with training camp.
Given this is short notice, I saw it was reported lightweight too. Is there any talk of making this a welterweight, even though you guys are both 55ers, so you don't have to cut as much weight?
I didn't hear anything about that. No, so my weight was pretty good, and yeah, it's one of those things. It's never fun. It's never fun to get all the way down to to 56. But yeah, I'll be able to do it.
And being on this massive card, like Stipe, Daniel Cormier at the top, a really big pay-per-view, like you have Sean O'Malley, you have Junior Dos Santos on the card. Like, was this an event even before that you wanted to be a part? Just because this is probably gonna be one of the bigger pay-per-views they do.
It didn't really matter to me, honestly. For me, it was all about the timing. I had asked Sean right after my last fight that I'd like to fight late August, early September. So, this opportunity came around and I jumped on it.
How much do you know about your opponent, Vinc Pichel? His last win, which is kind of funny, is Roosevelt Roberts, which is your last one as well.
He's been around for a bit, and he's had to take some long breaks. I've seen him fight a couple times. I feel like it's a good matchup. He's one of those guys that he doesn't seem to get tired. He keeps coming forward. But I feel like I match up pretty well with him.
How do you see this fight playing out? Because he's a tough guy. Like both his loss he got submitted against Gregor Gillespie. Both his losses are finishes, but he's a guy that in most fights takes a lot of damage, or he takes some good shots, keeps going forward.
Yeah, sorry, my dogs are going crazy.
Yeah, no worries.
Hey, go away. They know we got the lever door handles.
Yeah.
But one knows how to open the door. I feel like I'm going to be able to land some good shots, and when I do that, he's going to be forced into that wrestling game, and he's going to make some mistakes when it comes to jiu-jitsu defense, and I'm gonna submit him. That's what I'm feeling.
Is it weird for you that he still kind of seems like a newer guy in the UFC, but he's actually older than you. He's 37. So is that weird to fight a guy that's kind of older, but you've been around the UFC way longer than him?
You know what? It doesn't matter. I don't really care. I have been fighting some of those younger dudes, and it's as you get older, like it is tougher, right? Like you can't keep the speed, you can't keep the reflexes, and so fighting the tougher guy or the younger guys is tougher because like that they've kind of got that edge that you used to have. I feel like I've been able to maintain it pretty well, but we're just gonna go in there and fight. Like I don't really care when he was born, honestly. it doesn't affect the fight, right?
When you make the walk to the octagon, you're gonna take sole possession of most fights in UFC again because your tide is Cerrone right now. Do you just think you and Cowboy are just gonna keep trading back and forth? It seems like right when you get a 1 or 2 fight edge, he takes like 3 fights in a short time.
Yeah, probably. Like he gets offered a lot more fights than anybody, right? I wish I could fight at the pace that he does. But yeah, it's cool. It'll be cool to get to be back there again, but it's not one of those things that like I'm necessarily thinking about. Like I think if the two of us get to 40, we need to fight again because I don't think that any of the other guys that are right behind us are going to get to 40. But yeah, it's like I said, it's a cool thing to kind of have, but it's not anything big.
You obviously said earlier that you think you're going to submit him. You're known for your ground game. Is this fight you think you're going to shoot early? Or do you think Vince is going to try to shoot on you?
I just go with what I feel in the fight, and if I have that opportunity, I will take him down, put him on his back, and I do very well when I end up on top in fights, and it's not one of those things that I necessarily try to force because I don't want to get caught being one of those guys that just shoots a lot from the outside because you do leave yourself vulnerable. So I try to set it up, and unfortunately sometimes it's not as easy to set up takedowns as you want, but it doesn't really matter whether I'm on top or bottom. I feel like I'm gonna have a grappling edge, and I'm gonna try to exploit it.
Do you prefer these kind of matchups against Vince and Roosevelt Roberts, those guys that are still trying to build up the name, or do you like those matches when you're fighting like Clay Guida, like those like veterans who have that big name just like yourself?
It in the grand scheme of it, it really doesn't matter to me. Fighting Clay was pretty awesome. It was a guy that I could have fought back in 2009, 2008. So to finally get matched up with him, and and having known him and been friendly and stuff like that with him, like I was just excited to share the octagon with him. It was a really cool like just feeling building up to that fight, and the fight went really well and really fast for me, but it just had that air about it that it was like, man, this is gonna be a great fight, and I was just super excited about it. So I do enjoy sharing the octagon with those guys that have been around the block a bit, and like I want to do that more.
You mentioned you and Cerrone for 40th UFC fights together, but are there any other names like that, just even rematches or guys that you've been around the sport for a while that you would like to fight for your career's over?
I mean, not really in particular, like there's nobody that like totally jumps out. But I like to fight guys that I'm a fan of too, like I want to fight guys that have proven themselves, and the hardest thing to do in the UFC is to stay in the UFC. So anybody that's stayed around, for a while, it's an honor. It's something you got to earn. So but like any of them really, it doesn't matter. Like I said, it's if they call me up and they give me an opponent and the date, I accept.
This will be your second fight with no fans again. How much do you take away from that first fight where no fans, UFC Apex, smaller octagon, all that kind of stuff?
The octagon didn't really bother me. We've got a 20-footer at the gym, or might be considered an 18-footer. So like I'm used to the small ones. I fought in a few of the small ones as well. The fans thing, like the last fight, going in and ending it in the first round, it didn't hit me while I was in the fight. For me, when I'm fighting, I get like tunnel vision. I don't see outside the cage. All I hear is white noise. I barely hear my corner. The only way I hear my corner is if I'm like right by them. So like for me to hear the fans and to really get the experience of like fighting in front of thousands of people, it's in between the rounds. So like I said, the fight was over in 2 minutes or something like that. And so I didn't have that. But like, you think about it and it's like, man, to be in one of those wars, to be in one of those battles where you're beat up, you're bleeding, you're coming back to the corner tired before that last round and dead silence. That's gotta be a trip, So my plan is to end it quick again so that I don't have to deal with that, because like, when you are in those fights, hearing that roar of the crowd, because for me, it's just like, it opens up. The bell rings, I turn around, I go back to my corner, and it's just all of a sudden, it's just like, you'll hear the roar, you'll see out, and it's like, holy shit, like we're doing something special here tonight. So it's an awesome feeling. And it's like, I hope that it hasn't helped me in the fights, right? So that if I need it in these types of fights without any fans, that it doesn't come back to kick me in the ass.
If you win this one, 2 straight wins and 4 of your last 5, are you looking to get a ranked guy, or is it really not matter for you at this point?
Yeah, I'd love to get a ranked guy. It's I know that I can compete at the top of this division. I know what I'm capable of, and even in 35 fights, I haven't shown everything that I'm capable of. And I finally feel like I'm starting to figure out some of the mental aspects of it with sports psychology and stuff like that, where I just kind of get out of my own way. So I really would like to have the opportunity to try to climb the ranks again and get back to where I know that I belong. But again, at the same time, if the timing is right and it's when I want to fight, and it really doesn't matter, because a fight's a fight, and any guy that's across from me inside the octagon is an opportunity to show those things that I haven't been able to show yet. So I just look at every opportunity to fight as one that I want to take.
As you know, because you're just obviously getting this short notice fight, the UFC's turning to American fighters often. Like even Roosevelt Roberts fought like a couple weeks after being Brock Weaver fought you. So if everything goes you well, like, are you looking to at least get another one in before the end of the year?
Yeah, I'd love to get another one in. I'd like to have a little bit of time off through the the early fall and stuff like that. Kids going back to a new school and stuff like that. They're fortunately, they're going to one that's actually opening up. So, it's just going to be a little bit trippy and stuff like that around here. And so I kind of want to be able to be a little bit more present for that type of stuff. And I got a lot of work on the house I got to get done. So, if I could get one in like end of the year card, that would be absolutely perfect. Getting 4 in a calendar year is it's pretty good. Yeah.
UFC are 36, but you're still winning a lot of fights, beating these up and comers. Do you ever think about how much longer you have? Because you are still a guy that's really competitive in these fights, and like I said, beating a lot of these up and comers still.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think about it. I think it's the mature thing to do is to think about it. Some of my peers don't even like to talk about retirement because they feel like it's, once they allow that to get into their head, that it shows weakness. I feel like the right thing to do is to be preparing for it. Like, we have this platform that is fighting, and fighting at this level, the highest level in the world. And pretty much every single one of us, except for Connor, needs to do something afterwards. So, it's a tough spot to be in with a family to say, all right, I'm done fighting. Now what? So I'm trying, and I've been working on for a while now what that next step is, and kind of testing the waters here and there, and seeing what interests me enough to get my attention. And there's a side of me that is excited to put the amount of energy that I put into MMA into something else. And I mean, I love fighting, I really do. But if I did find something that was like, hey, you can make a living doing this, and it's going to excite you just as much as fighting, I might do it just to try something new. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult when the time comes to step away, because I know that I'm the type that once I do step away from MMA, I'm not going to return. So like, I want to do it on my own terms. I'm not going to do it, just make an emotional decision after a crummy performance. I'm going to know on fight night going into that fight that it is my last fight. And even just saying that gives me a rush, so at that point, there's nothing left to hold back for, I am so excited for that. It's not going to be next Saturday, I guarantee you. But I'm excited for knowing when my last fight is, and the training camp and everything that's going to go into that. It's going to be a wild ride. But yeah, like I said, I'm trying to figure that next step out and use this platform, and because we all need to. So it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to plan for it. And it's the appropriate thing to do, especially if you have a family that you support with fighting.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, the Lyme disease too. You've really mentioned how much better it's been over the past couple of years. Like how much better as a fighter, just your cardio and everything, your way of life has it been since the disease, since you've really gotten it better the past couple of years?
It's been, I think back to how I felt 2015 and 16 and 17. Like it was. Even when I was treating it, I was still nowhere near where I am today. And then it was like early 2018, started to feel like my head was coming above water, and I could train again like I used to, and push myself again like I used to. Like these types of fights, these shorter notice fights, I've always dug this, because I'm capable of pushing more out of myself in training. Like I'm the guy that's on my own ass, getting the most out of it, getting the most out of a round. This is my last round. I might as well not be able to, barely be able to move, and just at the end of this one and just push and go, go, go. And for a while there, I couldn't do that. So I was training in a way that was kind of creating a style of fighting that I'm not good at, which is not aggressive. So being able to kind of get back to who I am and what I'm good at, and train in the way that is going to bring that out in the octagon is awesome. It's, I still do have some recurring things from the Lyme, but for the most part, I've been able to kind of kick it back, and it's on the back burner. I know that at some point it might come back and kick my ass again. But at least now I'm prepared for it, and I know what it is. So it doesn't scare me. It was tough. It was tough for a bit there. I should have been jotting it all down for the book, right?
All right, well, Jim, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
No problem. My pleasure.